sorry.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere soon.
Sorry, I missed the 6, okay. There we go.
So the first several on here are the same ones we've gone over 2 or 3 times already. I'm not seeing, okay. So, one that we brought up last time about the $3,000 for the restoration of town's historical records. Sue sent an email to the town clerk asking how much is left to do. No response.
In one of our meetings, she did tell us how many she had left. Do you remember, Ed?
I'm not gonna say because I was told I had lied.
Yeah, she called you a liar last year after you went and talked to her about it, yeah.
Well, that'll teach you to damn lie.
Exactly.
Went out of his way to go talk to her and find out exactly how many were left.
Yeah.
Because everybody asks this question every year, and
Yep.
he got the answer, and she called him a liar at deliberative.
Well, maybe she'll tell it deliberative. Who knows?
I think the question needs to be asked at deliberative.
Okay. We had discussed that it was a condition to put it on, something we wanted to know before we put it on, but if you guys want to leave it on and hope for an answer again.
Because I know she's been doing that a long time.
Yeah.
I don't have the vaguest idea.
Long before you came here.
Oh, that's what I
Right.
figured, but I mean, how many are there?
I don't know. But you can't go to the inner sanctums because you're not allowed.
Yeah.
Maybe the selectmen just need to say, okay, we need to know how many more books we need to restore, or we're not gonna put the money on.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of what we talked about last time, and that's why Sue was asked to send her an email, and she never responded to it, so we can take it off.
I don't know if taking it off's the right answer. That's the whole thing. How do you make an intelligent decision?
Right.
Are there 1,000 books and we're 995 deep already done, or are there 1,000 books and we've done 10?
I think the number she said last year was 15? 15 supposedly were left to go, and allegedly 3 to 5 per year get done,
I heard-
depending on their
I heard that,
size.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, if that's all that's left, you may as well finish it, if those are real numbers. I have no clue. I'm not gonna venture a guess.
Nobody-
I'll go with what,
Yeah.
I'll go with what you guys tell me. That's all the information I have.
I think you're right. 15.
That's what Ed had said that she showed him, but then she called him a liar at deliberative and said that she's always, new ones are being discovered all the time in different places.
Boy.
Yeah.
Sounds like poor record keeping it.
Well, it was like Kenny Cushing's book. You know? How many years did it take to do that book?
A long time.
Took a long time. Every year he swore, oh, I won't be back for any more. And by God,
Every year he came back.
it came back for more money, yes. So it took a long time to get the book done. And we still have a lot left, don't we?
We're in the 700s. So,
700 out of that.
1,000.
Oh.
Was it 8? I don't know.
Well, see, they'll only,
Or remove the recommendation.
what happens is they'll only do what, X amount of dollars on,
Per-
when she applies for,
Right.
for the thing. So then she gets the rest of it from us, which is $3,000, which is not a lot of money, it's not gonna break us.
But that's a good point, we could take off our recommendation because she didn't respond.
Yeah, cause I don't know what I'm recommending.
Right. That's
Okay.
not a bad move.
Call
Okay.
out the numbers, it's deliberative, and let the people make their decision.
Yep.
Okay.
So just
That's
remove
okay.
it, instead of putting do not recommend, just remove it totally?
That would be my suggestion.
Should we remove it?
Yeah, it would just be remove it and let, cause we asked the question, didn't get an answer.
I'm not a fan of the inconsistency
Right.
there,
Exactly, because now you're pushing it onto the budget committee, because where's the,
because you have to,
yeah.
yeah.
and we
What,
can't-
make a recommendation one way or the other?
Okay, I have no problem with
That would
saying
be the
that.
budget committee's problem. Maybe you can get a better answer than we did.
He did, then he got called a liar. He got the answer.
I got no answer. I'm not gonna say yay and nay until I have a number.
I would have no problem with saying do not recommend and saying at deliberative. We couldn't recommend it because we asked her how many there were and we didn't get a response.
Okay. Works for me.
All in on that?
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, but we always pick it up again next year.
Yeah.
So there's how many warrant articles here? Did you count them?
12 on the front.
12?
12 on the front.
That's not too bad.
No.
Considering.
Oh, we gotta cancel it, then we gotta add these another 15.
I guess Russell called Sue this morning and asked about putting another, warrant article on to do 9,000 towards a police cruiser. He's not looking to buy one this year.
Yeah, he called me, we talked about that. I told him to make sure to talk to you guys, I wasn't gonna be the messenger. He doesn't feel that he's in a position to, he's got nobody that can drive another one.
Right. So it'd be worded like the other ones, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000
Yep.
to be placed in the previously established police cruiser capital reserve fund. Are we all good with that one?
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll recommend?
Yes.
Yes. We talked about reopening the, tax revaluation
I
capital
think
reserve
that
fund.
might be a good idea.
Yes.
Last year when we had talked about that and it didn't pass, we were talking about putting $10,000 in.
Yep.
So we should put, so what does it come out to? It's like 50,000, right?
Yeah,
It was like
50
50
something.
So we're in the third year, do we wanna do 15 or 20?
Second, yeah,
second.
Second, oh, we're only in the second, okay,
Yeah.
15.
we'll be in
Do
the
you wanna
second
do
one.
15?
Probably.
See if the town will vote to reestablish the property tax revaluation capital reserve fund and to raise and appropriate $15,000 to be placed in that fund.
You have to explain to them really well.
Yes, we have to do a much
What it
better
is.
job of explaining that this year. People don't
Because-
understand, they shot
no.
themselves in the foot on that, yeah. And we wanna recommend that one?
Yes.
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 Did you see the next one?
I do.
Allegedly, someone was gonna do some homework after the December 7th Selectmans meeting. I'm pretty sure it wasn't me.
I don't think it was me either.
Wasn't me.
I don't think it was me, but if it was, I didn't do it.
Oh, awesome.
All right. You're gonna get an F.
I'll take it. What was the homework? Maybe I did do it and just
You're
don't
gonna,
remember.
call LGC to talk with Steve Buckley or Nate Graves to
Oh,
get a actual, if it can go in the their budget request, or it has to be warrant article,
which makes no sense to me. So this is the town clerk's stipend increase that she wanted buried in her budget. How many people on the budget committee called them, how many times? I mean, that's why I was surprised when Sue reminded me that someone from this board was supposed to also call them and harass them about this same question. But
I did do a ton of digging in the RSA's, and it seems that they can handle it that way, put it in the budget. From what I discovered, I don't know.
who's they?
The clerk,
Oh.
the department head.
Can bury a stipend increase. Yes, right, and that's kind of what they said to you.
Right.
And the question was, so how about if we all do that? The selectman's stipend from now on will be $5,000 a year, we're just gonna put that in our budget. Can you imagine the backlash?
I think the
yeah.
budget just needs to
And I
be-
don't think any other stipend should be handled that way either.
No,
No.
no.
Well, like I said, I had a problem with the budget committee meeting with one of the members, when Bonnie was sitting there saying she's being handled differently, why can't we put it in my budget, blah, 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 which I guess according to the letter of the law, you can. And yet here are the selectmen being made to put a separate warrant article on.
Yeah.
So,
But my
maybe we should put a warrant article on that any stipend increase needs to be passed by a warrant article.
That might be a good idea.
And just cut right to the chase and put an end to it.
The problem with it being done this way this year is that that's never been done before. Historically, people have always respected the voters and
Right.
put it on there to be voted on.
Right,
There's no reason to change precedent.
you wouldn't think, would you?
No.
But unfortunately, if you put a warrant article on there and they vote on her budget and approve it, and then vote on the warrant article and approve it, she gets $1,000 increase.
It's not in her budget.
It's not in her
It's
budget.
been
No, it's
removed
not
from her
in her
budget.
No.
And I quite frankly don't wanna even put it on as a warrant article. Selectmen haven't had an increase since 1989. She had one
Right.
7 years ago. Plus her fees go up every year.
Yep.
She puts more money in her pocket every single year with fees. Most every year.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah, because people buy new cars. every year.
Exactly.
They
Yep.
do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, the state checks it every year anyway on one of
Mhm.
those things. So, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't have a problem not putting it on there.
Okay, I don't care either. Either way. Okay.
So that is a no?
If you put it on, it gets voted in. If you don't put it on, I don't know. And we'll be the bad guys.
What is her stipend right now?
$38.50 for town clerk.
No.
No. Not considering our stipend and the time that we put in,
Yeah.
especially you.
I far surpassed my 7 minutes a day.
Oh, I do too.
That was just talking to you before.
I know.
So that's a no, okay?
Yep. Alright, Sue's got do we have any other ones we wanna consider?
Any money warrant articles?
To add on or consider, or is this the time?
This is it.
The money ones, yes.
Money ones? No.
I don't have any rules. I think there's
I don't
enough
have
money
any
ones on the other side here.
If you have any others that you'd like us to consider when we meet on the 18th, that's our absolute last chance.
Yes, in non-money warrant
Right.
articles.
Right.
Right.
So,
Just the money ones have to be
Right.
done now before the budget public hearing.
I just feel like we're like five meetings deep into warrant articles, can we just wrap it up?
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll throw them all on the table now, I'll wait, throw them all over the table and eat. I really don't particularly care, I've had enough.
There's enough there. And there's
What are
enough.
you laughing at? You don't think I'm gonna? You want them?
Yeah, just assuming, unless everybody's in a hurry to get out of here,
What,
hear whatever other warrant articles he's got that
you
aren't.
got
on
warrant
here.
articles?
I have things I'd like to discuss.
Well, start flapping the guns.
I'd like to get rid of the budget committee,
You'd like to what?
get rid of the budget committee.
Abolish the budget committee.
I think that's a useless entity at this point in time, after watching what happened last year and watching what went on with it this year. I think there has been a variety of poor and uninformed decisions made, and a lack of interest in what's really going on by the evidence of the people that showed up when we had the budget workshop. I think we should limit the town clerk position to 1 year. And think we should make the tax assessor an appointed position, or the tax collector an
collector.
appointed position.
Is that it?
For the moment, I'll write them down in case anything else I might have missed.
Polish budget committee, limit town clerk.
Yeah, town clerk 1 year and then tax collector appointed. So I think last year we added a 4th person to the budget committee, and I think that's, gives us the potential to change the dynamics and make it more effective. Some new blood on there would probably be a good thing.
Yes, because some of the ones that have been on there for a long time, don't really remember from year to year, do they?
No,
Which one?
from week to week,
Right.
yeah.
And, you know,
I just don't see the sense in us putting all the time, like we did into the budget workshop. Having all the department heads come in, sit, explain themselves, drag our asses through the budgets, and make intelligent, informed decisions, to hand it over to a committee of people that couldn't be bothered to show up and get the information, so they can change the decisions.
I agree with that, and I was disappointed that the budget committee wasn't completely there, and I think maybe next year we should require them to be there, or, you know, make it more, it should be a joint thing. And I find it amazes me that the department heads have no problem coming and going through their whole spiel with the selectmen, and coming back and doing it again with the budget committee. It'd be easier on everybody if it just all got done at once.
So, this year we'll be voting on 2 budget committee members.
Yes.
So we have the potential of getting one of the same 3 back in, which would change nothing. And then even if we got our rocket scientists in the 4th position, you still have the potential of ending up, at best, a deadlock.
No.
You also have
You have
an
the
ex
selectmans.
officio,
Ex officio.
and Jenny, it won't be Jenny
It won't be
again.
Jenny.
no. No,
So there's a potential for 3 new people at the table, 2, for sure.
Yeah. and they also need somebody to take correct and accurate minutes. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another budget committee conversation. I'm not sure if this is the time or place for it.
And we don't have to make a decision on that right now if you wanna
I find
mull it over
ironic
for a
that
week, but I kinda
that-
feel like,
I find it ironic that the committee that makes decisions on budgets and slashing budgets can't find somebody on the committee to take minutes and wants to use the only committee in town that can't get the job done, and wants to use taxpayer minutes to hire
money, yeah.
use taxpayer money to hire somebody to take their minutes for them. I find that rather ironic. We'll cut fuel budgets after we buy a brand new truck and hire 2 new people so we have more trucks on the road. We'll cut the fuel budget, even though the fuel is up on average 50% across the country. But then we'll spend
Let's
tax money
Yep.
to get somebody to take our notes for us.
Yep.
But we can talk about that one later, I guess.
Alright. I think if you, I don't know, what do you think about that, Jenny?
What?
About abolishing the budget committee?
Well, I've always had a budget committee, so I'm not a good person to ask.
Let's see where we get with the other two, if we need to bring that back up in a week or let it slide. Or
Yeah,
make a
talk to
decision
some
tonight,
people,
rather.
because that, part of that decision was everybody I've spoken to that has seen and asked what happened, that's watched Paul's videos and asked what happened, has told me they need to go.
And how involved are those people? How involved have they been in the town? How
Some yes,
how
some,
familiar are they with what's going on?
some yes, some no.
Yeah.
You know, some hold town positions, some, I rather wish, I don't even know where they got my phone number.
I don't
It
just.
covers the spectrum.
Off your sign.
Gee, I don't know, how could you find McGinty's on their cards?
Right, you know, if I had known who they were, I wouldn't have answered the phone. But it covers the spectrum.
You mean you don't have caller ID? What the hell's wrong
I do,
with you?
but I have to answer the phone regardless either way. It's either town business or business, either way, I gotta deal with it.
I don't disagree that it's fairly dysfunctional as it is, but if it were working properly, I think that checks and balances would be very helpful, very useful, beneficial. That's the word I want.
Yep.
You're right, town clerk, the limit to 1 year, so I go from a 3-year to a 1 year. I can't even imagine learning that job in a year,
Right.
let alone having somebody new learning it every year.
Yeah. There's a lot
Oh,
more to it.
You
Jenny's
probably
been a town clerk, she knows. What am I talking? Go ahead.
You go to the town clerk workshop? I mean,
They do it different now, though.
they probably do.
A lot different now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I got hoodwinked into that. I did it because she was my friend. I can still see her face the day we took the name out of a hat. George Curran and I had a tie, and they put the name in the hat. So the town clerk had to take the name out, and it was George. I thought she was gonna pass out, because she picked George. Oh, what the hell, who cares?
I don't look at the training thing as an issue. God forbid, there's an accident, and suddenly you don't have a town clerk. Somebody's gonna need to learn the job.
Right.
She gets, there is a change during a vote. Somebody's gonna have to learn the job. She decides not to run. Somebody's gonna have to learn how to do the job. So
Right.
regardless of the situation, somebody is gonna have to learn how to do the job. And if you separate them, it's only half the job that's being done right now, you have to learn.
Right. What happens is all these, her for instance, town clerk, tax collector, who else? It's designed for them, everybody, to have an assistant, somebody that can take over while you're not there.
Right. Yeah. Treasurer has a deputy, town clerk should have a deputy.
Yep.
Tax collector should have a deputy.
Welfare director needs a
Yep,
deputy.
Yep. Health officer has a deputy.
So, all those
So
things.
you can come in, George.
All those things are supposed to have an assistant.
Well, then I find an inherent problem ability to train or retain or get the deputy.
That is a problem.
Yep.
It is,
Thank you so much.
That creates a self-sustaining, that creates job security,
yes.
is what that does.
Yep. So technically, you really need 2 people for each position.
Which is why I would be okay with putting tax collector appointed on there, cause that would make it, excuse me, make it easier for us to separate those 2 offices. And have someone doing at least one of the 2 jobs that can get a deputy.
Yeah, there's at least a step in, this at least a step in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
What happens though is, if you work the people you have to death,
Well, now you'll
Yeah.
be working the people you have with half the job.
you know,
Maybe that's part of the reason we can't keep a deputy or an assistant. Is you're trying to teach them 2 jobs in a fraction of the time.
right,
So separate the jobs.
right, separate the
So you're
jobs.
only learning 1 job.
And you should, yeah, because just because you can handle 2 jobs, look at how long you've been at it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being selectman. The longer you're selectman, the more you learn. A new
Sure.
person comes in and they have a hell of a time.
They
Yeah.
make stupid decisions and say stupid things and put on stupid alarm articles.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But, you know, on the flip side of that,
Excuse me.
you know, it's been mentioned to me, people coming in, and I've done it, standing there to do a dog license or whatnot, and you
Yeah.
get stuck behind a line of people trying to do, you know, tech
Yeah.
stuff, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What should be
Yeah.
a 5-minute job turns into an hour-long project when technically it shouldn't even be in that office.
Right.
And you could separate the hours.
Yes.
You know, the town clerk keep the same hours and put, you know, the tax collector could have alternating. And they could still function out of the same, well, they couldn't function
No,
out
they
of the
couldn't.
same office.
No,
But,
No, you have to
no.
separate it.
right, but it could still be opposing timeframes. Cause that was the other thing I looked at, I mean, the surrounding towns are open a lot more hours.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And it'd give us a year to get ourselves together to do it.
Well, it depends on the term, because you can't take and change that until that term is expired.
Next year.
Right, that'd be effective 2023.
Is that when it is? I
Yeah.
don't know.
The tax collector.
But even for the town clerk, if it's a 3-year position,
Right,
it wouldn't take effect until that 4th year.
right.
Well, if you put it on, oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, cause that office is up in March,
yeah.
so she's got 3 years regardless.
Mhm.
Excuse me. What do you think, Jenny? You wanna make decisions on these today, or you wanna put them off for a week?
I don't give a rat's ass. Maybe I'll sleep on it for a week.
Take a moment, think about it.
Okay. Works for me. They're not money warrant articles, so we don't need to worry about it.
Right.
Okay. So, Sue's also got a question on here.
Mhm.
Do we want selectmen recommendations on the warrant? And
Warrant
only-
articles, sorry.
Yeah, for each warrant article. Or only have the budget committee recommendations, or do we want both?
Do we have to recommend it?
believe the money ones you do.
The money ones you have to, yeah, okay, yeah, the money ones, never mind.
I thought only the budget committee had to.
No, that,
Of course, after the Jeremy Olson lawsuit, we can put our recommendation on anything we want to. I don't like that.
No.
I kind of, I think it helps the voters.
I do.
Alright,
I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gives them some guidance.
Yeah.
I only brought it up
Throw
because
my
someone brought it
opinion
up at
there
the last
in front of
meeting,
everybody
so.
anyways.
And we need to confirm the deliberative session time. February 12th,
Yep,
Lincolnsburg.
10 a.m. at the fire station. Is that what we, I know that's what we've been kicking around, I guess we didn't formally agree to it, so, is that right?
Or
Is this a formal agreement?
This is it. No, it's official,
Okay.
February 10th. I'm sorry, February 12th,
12,
10
see, you're
a.m.
gonna steer me wrong
See,
already.
there you. See it show up on,
You can come to
Thursday and
12
see.
at 12 and wait for us though. We'll be along.
I'm sure I already have this on the
February
calendar.
12th, right,
At the fire station.
10 a.m.
I already told Sarah you're on maybe.
Yeah, because school deliberative's the 5th, at 9 a.m. But our moderator prefers a 10 a.m. start. It's cold on those February mornings. The sun doesn't get up over the trees on our side of town until at least 10. Anything else we need to talk about? Did you want to yell at us about something, Ed? Or you not?
yes, I spoke to Sue, so I figured Sue informed everybody.
no, I told Tom, is this about what we were discussing yesterday in the library?
I know nothing.
Sometimes it's better to know nothing.
Is this a budget committee thing?
I'm Schultz, you know, you ever watch Schultz?
This is for you if you want. If you want. I did not redo her handout.
Oh,
Those are just the spreadsheet pages.
yeah.
If you would like to use that as a handout in place of the
That's a
nuts.
disaster.
Yeah.
Apparently there's Pam and George have been calling LGC lawyers,
Yes.
claiming that we are doing our budgets incorrectly when it comes to gross space budgeting. They have it in their idea, or in their head, that the town is supposed to pay for the whole amount and they can pay whatever they want out of their, out of
You
their
mean
accounts without,
NHMA, right?
yes,
Yes.
Okay, thank
NHMA,
you.
without having to raise and appropriate.
Right.
So, I guess that's the issue.
Well, that's part of it. The thing being is, the 2021 budget, they had $3,000 for gross basis
For library.
for the
Yes.
library. They actually spent less than 1,000. George, talking with George, feels that the 17,000 that was in for the library, that's all the town's responsibility. That does not include gross basis. I told him that we have to follow DRA, and that's what I told him. He said, well, I'm going by the lawyers from New Hampshire Municipal. I said, George, you cannot go by what they're saying. I said, you're not gonna put me in the middle between them. I said, because DRA is who I have to follow. I said, and my name's on that paper. I said, so I'm not getting in trouble because you. So with that being said, when they go and turn in their papers for the town report, it's gonna be a lie, because it shows nothing for gross basis.
Yeah.
These are some of the papers that he passed out.
Mhm.
He said, well, we're gonna use the grant money, the $2,800, as part of the gross basis. I said, no, he goes, if I take that and then I use 1,500 from Fogel, he said that puts us over the limit. I said, George, that is unanticipated money, and you have free spending of that. Because it came in during the year and it's unanticipated.
Mhm.
You'll have to get DRA after them.
I was gonna say, is there a reason that they're going to an attorney for financial advice rather than the revenue people? Or is it just because that answer suits their needs?
That's just,
It's because Pam took the NHMA's budget workshop, and
right,
apparently they did it completely different than the one Sue and Ed and I did last year, cause I don't know where she's getting all these wild
Right.
ideas about gross
Oh.
basis, but it sure wasn't covered in the same exact workshop they did the year
I
before.
mean, if you click in I went on the DRA website for about 18 seconds and clicked on frequently asked questions, and it explains everything that
But and I suggested to her she needs to go to the DRA,
The thing
and not
being
to the
is
NHMA.
they have like
But
a
that's where
live
she's
chat
stuck,
and a
'cause-
help phone
'cause they're
number
agreeing with her.
and
I mean, I've been going through the gross basis for 11
I
years.
understand
Right.
that. That's why I asked you
And
guys.
it's been with Sue, it's been with cemeteries, the libraries, and cemetery walks away thinking they have it down right. The library, they'll come back the next day with totally different
Mhm.
reply.
And they're trying to, use the revolving accounts as an example,
Right,
which are
yes.
totally
They
different.
can't do
Right.
two separate accounts, and it's like,
Yeah, Pam seems to think that she can take every department that has other sources of revenue besides property taxation
Mm-hmm.
and treat them all the same. And
Okay.
it's impossible.
Yeah, right.
The only two you could even come close to saying are the same are tax collector and town clerk. Fees come in, oh no, actually no, it's a
No,
lien
but-
processing fee, you're right.
right,
It's not even the same. There are no two that are the same,
no,
no. No. And for some reason, she's stuck on, the library gets to do this thing this year, and I'm sure it's because her husband is in library trustees, but she's not applying that same logic or illogic to any other department.
right.
I thought for sure after what she did at deliberative last year, this would have gotten better after having taken the workshop, but now it seems to have gotten worse.
Right. And I've gotta do something, before Friday, because, it's either the gross basis gets put in or don't, as far as the library goes. And then that creates a, small problem, because then I've gotta have majority vote at the, from the budget committee members Friday night after.
Does Catherine understand it? Does she understand your point of view
I have not
more
spoken to.
clearly than Pam's? Because it doesn't seem to me that Catherine's really had a problem with that in the past. She just kind of goes along with whatever you say. But then again, I think she was the one that seconded Pam's motion at deliberative, wasn't she?
Who's up for re-election this year?
Ed.
So maybe
Jenny understands it,
I do.
so you got no problem there. You
No,
just got-
Sue took, one whole day.
I know, I
And
know.
went through it to try to get it so George would understand what needed to be done. And she felt that when he left it, he understood it, but once he went out the door, it was like,
So this comes back to what Tom brought up about abolishing the budget committee.
I didn't wanna be the one to say it, but we have
Who-
locked this problem in next year.
Who, we have not yet. We have not yet.
Not yet, but there's half of the existing board.
It's the selectmen's warrant. Is it the selectmen's budget, or is it the budget committee's budget?
it's a bunch of committees. And the thing being is, I can understand what you're saying, yeah, from sitting from your side, alright?
I'm not saying
No,
that
but-
the budget committee is without value. I agree with Cindy.
No, right, but the
That
thing
there
being
is a
is,
check and balance.
it's like, yeah, you put the budget together, and Selectmen's budget, you had one error on there that was gonna be very costly if it
Yep,
did not get
Right,
caught.
exactly.
It went through 4 people,
Yeah.
3 selectmen and the clerk,
Yeah,
and none of you had caught it.
nope,
Come to the budget committee, I should say the budget committee, but came to me, I caught it.
Yep.
The other 2 didn't,
Nope.
but I did, so I came to,
and I thanked you for that, and I meant it, that was sincere, we would've, I mean,
I just forgot to add a couple of
It
zeros.
happens.
quite a few zeros.
well, and that's just it, we're all human beings, that's why checks and balances are good.
Exactly,
I
and
look
that's
at
my
everybody's
point
time
of it
sheet
all.
in it, yeah, sometimes I
I mean,
find
I
people working
understand
themselves off.
Yeah, what you're
Listen,
saying.
There's nothing to say that we can't have somebody else throw another set of eyes at it. There's nothing to say that something like that may not have got caught somewhere else in the process, and maybe Sue didn't catch it. That one mistake. There's nothing to say that we couldn't have somebody like yourself or somebody say, take a quick look at this and proofread it for me. It's entirely different than having a committee of people who are making decisions with no forethought, with no knowledge about what they're talking about, that is carved in stone when they're done. There's a difference between those two things.
I
I have a
I
problem.
become very frustrated many nights after leaving the budget meeting, because I try to,
After listening to somebody on the budget committee sit there and say we should cut the DPW's salary budget, because we don't need to pay to have anybody with any kind of special license drive a Class A vehicle, I find it very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but cut their budget knowing that we're 2 people short and gonna be, or they should at least know, I'm gonna guess maybe they didn't know, that we are, what should be a staff of 4 is actually a staff of 2, and we're guaranteed to lose one of them. So, you cut their budget, who's gonna drive those trucks? Who's gonna fill those 3 empty vacancies? I mean, I could go on, and you know it, I'm not going to. But we'll cut the library budget because they have $5,000 or whatever the number was still left over this year. If they had bothered to come to the meeting, they would have known that they had to renew their licenses at the end of the year. That's why the money was still sitting there. So you take it away from them and come next year, they can't renew their licenses. I mean, do we wanna keep going?
No,
Or have
please
I
don't,
made my point?
please don't, please.
I don't disagree with the committee. My feeling is that there is no inherent value in I'm not gonna say that.
See, but here's the thing that you keep doing, Tom, and I'm not trying to call you out or
No,
say
go
you're
right
a
ahead.
naughty boy or anything like that, but you keep looking at the people and not the position.
Exactly, that's
Yep.
that's what I'm trying to express.
Yep.
I don't disagree that that committee has a value. I agree that the content of that committee right now doesn't. But
So
it's
back to
just
this
that.
whole budget thing, what would you like us to do?
that's why I came, because it's like, the way it stands now, the gross basis, as far as library goes, needs to get cut right out. But I've got it to have the support, the majority support, after the meeting on Friday.
Right.
And the thing being is, then the library people are gonna be all up in uproar. And I've tried to explain to George, I spent over an hour yesterday, just trying to make sense to George.
And Sue's done the same thing, I don't know how
Exactly.
many times.
And I
Yeah.
came and I called Sue afterwards,
Yeah.
and it's like, you know,
Yeah, and I basically said, take the 3,000 out of their budget, give them the 17, they can't touch any of their accounts.
but the thing being is, they don't see it that way. They're still gonna take money out of that account and spend it anyways.
Mhm.
So it's like, you know,
Only unanticipated, they can't touch anything else. So,
but they'll break that law, and
But
that's,
if
Do we
they
take
and they
their?
do it now, so what's the difference?
Can we take their checkbooks away
No.
and have the treasurer handle them?
No.
No, cause they're library,
Yep.
cause
No,
library's special.
I think, maybe making a phone call to DRA
Just
and
what I said.
asking them if gross space is not in the budget, does that mean they are not allowed to touch their money? And if
Yes,
that is the case, I get that from DRA, then
because that's what they took
They're
it
gonna have
towards.
You know, and
Because-
I'm certain that NHMA makes that very clear when they talk about the budget process. I'm sure of it.
Well, we had that budget meeting here that we listened,
Yeah,
True.
that workshop
It
that we
was-
all did, they
it
made
was-
that very clear. If it's
exactly,
not appropriated, it can't be spent.
right.
Yes. So I don't know where they're, the Kerns are coming
because
off
I
with this
think they don't
crazy idea.
realize that 5 of their accounts is part of the gross basis and it's not clicking.
No.
They think that their library trustee account and the director's account are the only 2 accounts that gross basis comes from. No,
Clearly, cause that's the only ones that George brought spreadsheets on.
it's the other 5. There's 3 savings, 2 CDs, and actually 2 trusts, so there's 7 accounts.
Oh my word.
9 accounts.
No wonder Karen
9
Johnson's head
accounts.
is spinning. That's insane.
Well, 2 of them they don't touch because
Glad you
trustees
said
of the
it, 'cause I
trust
was
funds
just
oversee
about
that. So they oversee 7 accounts.
Why do you have 7 bank accounts?
That is
Because
crazy.
when people make a
$1,000.
donation, you have like, the Paul Keyser Fund, for instance. That was a $10,000 donation, that has to be separated from the others.
Why is that not held by the trustees of the trust fund?
Because it's how it's worded when it's,
When they present it
when
to-
they present it, it's how it's worded in the presenting.
Was that accepted as a warrant article?
No,
No.
they have the ability to accept donations because the
Exactly.
town put an
I'd say
RSA on
one,
to
to
allow
allow
them
them.
to accept donations, but they
Mm.
have to have a public hearing if it's over $5,000. They did have a public hearing to receive that money. So it depends on the wording of the donation and how you are to spend it. That's why they have that many accounts.
Well, they had somebody from the library in Concord come up
Yes.
Yes,
They met
And
with the selectmen
twice.
and the library trustees twice.
right. And Terry Knowles came up and talked to
Yes.
them about all this.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Between that workshop and every year, it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
and, I mean, I'm looking at, again, this year, 2022, asking them to come up again, just to,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Are they, any of their monies considered charitable?
not really.
No.
But they still have to follow the letter of the law.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
So, in the charitable trust, they have an attorney that can probably help you.
That would be Terry Knowles, but whoever took her place.
Right.
I think she's still there.
I think she's one of those retirees who never actually went away.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
retired.
Well, that's because she's got
Collecting her pension and a paycheck, and still doing the
ties
same
to
job.
Grafton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I would contact them and explain to them what is going on and that you can't get it through their thick heads.
Have you ever taken any of the trustee courses from the DRA?
Not DRA, I've taken it from the
NHMA?
charitable trusts. Yeah, they
Charitable
have
trust,
they have
charitable
that.
trust rather, I'm sorry,
NHMA.
charitable trust, yeah.
Yeah.
See if I can dig anything out of the paperwork I've got. I
Because
think I took 2 of those.
if somebody from the Attorney General's office shows up, maybe at night,
Yeah.
should go
Yeah,
there.
maybe invite somebody from the charitable, or from the DRA to the budget hearing.
I'm sure they're not gonna come this close to
You
the
never know.
hearing, yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Throw it at them, they may.
I would say maybe have a chat with Catherine,
Too, yeah,
talk to the DRA.
cause she's not dumb
I
when
didn't
it
say-
comes to money.
You can call her. The DRA, and then I'll see what I can dig out of the trustee stuff. If I can find something in writing that's from the state charitable trust unit that we can put in front of Pam's face to show her, and George, and say, this is how it is.
This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right, but they see it in different ways. I mean, the workshop and all the time that they've come up and sat with the group, it's all been the same way. And it's no way you could leave there thinking different.
Well, we certainly aren't going to, solve it tonight.
No, and they got 7 accounts that the town doesn't really have any oversight on.
No,
No, but,
Well, I don't know.
Auditors will have fun this next year.
well, that's it. I mean, you think-
And we can definitely make sure that the auditors this year look that over with a fine tooth comb. We might be real busy in another office this year, but we'll see if they got time for 2 to scrutinize like that.
But I do know on the MS 737, which is the budget, you have to put the whole amount
Yeah.
in the appropriations, and in the revenue side, you put the gross basis
basis,
portion.
right,
You
exactly,
have to do that,
right.
so, or they don't get a spend it.
But it's like this year, they were under the town's portion of the budget over $1,000. And then the gross basis, they didn't even spend $1,000 there,
No,
so,
we are, the town portion was less than what they needed to spend.
right,
So-
over $1,000 less.
Yeah, that's true, you're right, sorry. And they're responsible for the other 3,000.
Right.
Alright, but I guess that's all we can do tonight is just, you talk to DRA, I'll see what I can dig up with whatever's there, but, well, I'll pray for the next
What does that
3 days.
acronym, I'm sorry, what does that acronym mean? The,
Department of
Department of
Revenue.
Revenue Association.
Oh, DRA is the Department of Revenue.
thank you.
Is it Association, Department of Revenue?
Then there was another acronym you guys were using.
NHMA is the
New
New
Hampshire
Hampshire Municipal
Municipal.
Association.
Thank you.
I refer to them as the MSPCA because I can't remember it.
And every time you say that, I think of the animal.
I refer to them as LGC, because that's what they used to be called, as
Yep.
LGC,
Right.
local
Yeah.
government center, so.
Alright,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed their name.
anything else?
Minute taker for Friday night.
Don't look at me, I don't believe I'm hauling my fat ass anywhere Friday night. Except to bed.
I can take minutes, but I will have to step away from the table several times to argue about some of the budgets you guys touched. But I can do it. You meet at 6:30?
Yeah.
And the hearing's at 7, then meeting afterwards is, okay, I can do that.
Is it 6:30 or 6?
6 to set the hall up.
Oh, okay, 'cause that's what I put,
Yeah, and
Okay.
then 6:30 to take and
okay,
go over the warrant articles.
alright.
And then 7 is public hearing, then after the public hearing, we close it. So the budget committee can meet again to make the final
I'll
decisions.
have the updated list for you tomorrow.
You ain't getting tonight?
You go to budget committee meetings?
Oh, yeah.
And our new website's up.
Yes, it is.
And you can upload video. So,
I
you know where I'm
imagine
going,
it's
right?
possible, I do know where you're going, I imagine it's possible, but I'm
Because
not
it is a doable thing.
sure about if we want to upload. Cause this isn't official town video, Paul's not,
No, but that can be changed. Or,
Can. but we better add a
Oh,
stipend in for him for next year.
no, I'm just, We talked about it before, I think I mentioned it to you, if I
Yeah.
didn't, I'm sorry, and I'm just throwing it out there. If he or someone or I were to get my hands on one of those things and prop it in a corner, you can use those legally for minutes.
Sure.
And that would
Oh,
eliminate
no,
all of
you,
that.
not for minutes, you have to have
No,
written
you have
minutes.
to have written minutes.
You have to have written
I
minutes,
don't
yeah.
think you do anymore.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
You do. You do, but we could certainly
I'll
put a
look at
link
this.
to his YouTube channel on
Do
the
written
website.
minutes have to take place, you know, in real time?
No,
Then they could happen per the
After
video.
the video.
As long as the audio
Sure.
is.
You
Good.
have,
As long
you
as
have
you-
a time frame when you have to make them available.
5 days,
Yeah, I usually have my videos up the next day.
yeah.
We can't write that fast.
It's a possibility, but then that also goes back to what you had mentioned the other day, that sometimes budget committee meetings happen and nobody knows. Cause they were a last minute spur of the moment.
Does everyone have my number? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Which now, I figured a workaround. So you can subscribe to a whole bunch of things on the new website. You cannot subscribe to meetings being posted, unfortunately. But if you make,
Can't you?
that's what Marissa told us last week, that's unsubscribable. So the workaround I found that I think works is so let's say if the budget committee's gonna continue to operate the way they do, where meetings are planned at the last, or hit or miss, instead of a regular schedule. When we put them in on the website, we can put them in, not just post them on the calendar, but also post it as, news and announcement under the budget committee. And that way, if somebody's subscribed to news and announcements from the budget committee, they would get that. So, what did George and Susan have to tell you about warrant articles? We had 3 petition
We
warrant
just have the
articles.
3 petition warrant articles.
None of them have anything to do with money, and they're
One is, are you in favor of amending the existing town of Grafton subdivision regulations? That's no money. One was, are you in favor of reducing the maximum penalty for violation of the Grafton building notification ordinance from $100 per day to $0 per day, and the fee for filing the building notification from 25 to 5?
isn't that money?
But it's, are you in favor of?
Oh, okay. It's
It's a
just an
yes/no
opinion poll.
question. It's an
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other one is, are you in favor of repealing the 2-acre minimum lot size for dwellings? Again, another poll,
Okay.
that's what they all start with, are you in favor of, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, back to the minute taker thing, because I need an answer one way or another on how that's gonna work from here on. Cindy seems to said at the meeting that it was a selectman's responsibility, and I'm asking it because Pam has a budget she's gonna throw in either way, so that she wants.
The budget committee's gonna create a budget? For themselves?
I wouldn't consider, what's her face, the budget committee.
So what happened was, I saw in their minutes that the budget committee decided that they're going to hire a minute taker next year, at $15 an hour. And I questioned under what authority, and they did not revisit the selectmen's budget to add wages into the executive line item. Executive wages line item, so. Not to be throwing our weight around, but a department without a budget is looking to create a position, set the wage for it, have hiring and firing authority for it, but didn't put any money anywhere to pay for it.
I think I kinda explained my position on it earlier. You know, the term poorly, is now asking for the people to spend tax money to take notes because nobody on the committee feels like taking the notes. When every other department in town is forced to.
Right, but the budget committee used to, we had somebody that got paid to take minutes before. Planning board used to have somebody that got paid to take minutes before.
I'd have voted no on all those things if
I
I'd
know,
been a
I don't
selectman
care what we
then
used
too.
to do. You and I have had this conversation before. I don't care what we used to do, or how we always did it.
I'm throwing it out there because I know it's coming, so,
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there because if it hits deliberative session, I'm gonna throw it out there too, just like I said it. You wanna be on the committee? Somebody's gotta take the minutes. That's my stance on it. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
I think in a town the size of Grafton with the amenities we have here, I think the luxury of paying someone else to take your minutes is kind of ridiculous, really. Yeah, it's, we drive our own garbage to the dump. You can't take your own minutes at your meeting, I mean, every other committee and board that has meetings, and I know you said planning board used to, budget committee used to. And I've heard different stories as to how those things started and who the greedy person was that decided they needed to get paid to do those things, but it's immaterial. I think if you were sincere, you would have immediately gone back to the selectmen's budget and revisited that line item. And as it was pointed out, now that Paul's taping most every meeting, there's no reason somebody can't, if they miss something or whatever, go back and double check, get it all down. And minutes never have to be as complicated as, I've been guilty of it. I'm probably the worst. I've made some of them transcripts instead of minutes. If you got an agenda, half your minutes are done.
Right.
Yeah, just responding to the agenda.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll say I'm
Discuss,
guilty of it too.
discuss.
I've been in meetings with all but a stenographer sitting
This
there,
is what
and
happened.
it doesn't.
Yeah, yep. And anybody who is thinking they don't have time or they can't possibly participate in a meeting and take minutes, I will tell you, go take a look at the fire department meeting minutes up there, and you will see just how simple it is, because nobody makes it simpler than the secretary of the fire department. And you get all the information that's legally required without pages of BS that you don't need to know.
And Steve's interactive.
Yeah.
You know, he
Yeah.
just doesn't sit there quiet and ignore everything. He's interactive.
But I will take your minutes on Friday night.
You should be able to appoint somebody after election, I would think, to take the minutes.
It should be a position on every board.
Yeah.
Here's a chair, here's a secretary, cemetery, it's called the bookkeeper, whatever, you know. And I'll reiterate what I said in the budget committee meeting too. I think, especially after what happened with deliberative last year and what's going on with Pam, I really think if someone at that table was the one that had to engage their head and their hand together to put those words down, they might stick a little better. You know, as Tom pointed out, I think and Jenny said, you got people who can't remember what happened last year. You got people who can't remember what happened last week.
Yep.
I think we would be doing you a disservice to pay somebody else to take your minutes. And you saw it with me taking minutes, with Sandy Pearson taking minutes, putting all that hearing stuff together. Unfortunately, some of the other members just, they show up sometimes late, sometimes not at all,
I resemble that.
and they can't even remember what happened last week. I don't think they're ever gonna learn to be fully engaged if somebody else has already taken care of all the paperwork for them. That's just my opinion. Did you wanna vote on that?
I vote no.
You vote no.
Alright, should we wrap it up?
Yes.
I got a 6:30 to get to. It's not a long walk though.
Motion to adjourn this much after, or
Yeah,
motion to adjourn?
Second.
I agree.